Hey, welcome back to 4 Willie D, and now I'm Willie D. Alright, so this is what we're working on this week. Well, you might be looking back here and see that there's a lot more done back on this CJ5. The first thing we're going to do is try to get this steering box mounted up, and I thought we were going to get to the heims in this video, but we're not getting to the heim joints in this video. But we're going to try to get the steering completely mocked up to the point that we can finally start making our tie rod and drag link. First thing we're going to try to do is actually box in this frame right here. You can see right now I already actually have most of this mocked up, but I'm going to show you real quick how we get to this point. First off, I'm going to make this the right length. That curve is like perfect, and it's a little jacked up right here where I had to grind it down with the grinder and cut it with the cutoff wheel. And this little portion right here, you can see I actually went a little bit too far. You can kind of see right there I went a little bit too far with the bandsaw, but that's okay. This stuff is super thick compared to what the frame's actually made out of, so it'd be interesting to see. We're going to tack it in there real quick, and then we're going to throw up our steering box up there again just to see how far it moved over. Okay. You'll notice that, ooh, wow, look at there, it's in there just like that. We basically made a hole on this side, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna end up making another hole on the other side. We don't know where that's exactly going to go yet. I'm still mocking stuff up here slowly, but now that we have this hole made, I used a 2.5-inch hole saw, and we have a 2.5-inch piece of tubing, which means the outer diameter is 2.5 inches, and that's why it fits in there oh so well. So, and that's as far as it can go right there for now, but we have our lines marked, and I think this is going to work pretty good. I've kind of got this closer position to where we want it. I ran into a couple issues that I really didn't consider. I think I still put the hole where it needs to go, and you'll notice that this is sitting a lot. You might notice that there's a big giant gap here underneath our bolt. The reason why we had to lift the back end up was I realized once we had it kind of like an angle like this, well then what was going to happen is that so if you can imagine the arm, the Pitman arm, is like this, right? Like this is my elbow, that's the Pitman arm. Well, we need to run kind of flat with what the axle is. Because once we start getting up like this, well, now we're going to be kind of, we're still moving it left and right, but now you kind of see how I'm bringing it down. And I don't think that's what we want. What we really want is to be nice and flat and go back and forth. And I realized some angle on it's okay, but man, it was real extreme. It was like way up here, and it seemed like we were moving it farther, more down, up and down than we were left and right, with it being in that plane. What I need to do is I need to find some kind of tubing or pipe for these bolts to go through, some kind of bushing that I can make a bracket up here to weld to, and then kind of do the same thing on the bottom. I'm going to drill a hole through the frame from one side to the other for the bottom bolts, so that basically they're not trying to crush the frame. It's more like being held in there with a solid piece of metal. I also figured out we're going to need to use a different Pitman arm. I might be going back to get one off of Astro van, I think, because the Astro van is like straight, where the Savannah vans, they're more of a, almost like backwards instead of a drop. They're like a rise Pitman arm. I thought the rise is where I was going to go. I think we want a straight Pitman arm. So probably going to go back to the junkyard tomorrow and see if I can get a different Pitman arm. We'll see what I can find tomorrow. Anyways though, I'll see you tomorrow. Back from the junkyard, we got our new Pitman arm we need to install. So this is just sitting here right now, but we're gonna go ahead and pull this back off real quick. I'm gonna throw it in a vise. We're gonna pull this Pitman arm off, put our new one on. This will only go on one way. Alright, so now you can see where our new Pitman arm sits, which is just about perfect. You can see where the old one right here is that came off the bell crank. And right now, man, that looks Photoshop perfect because it's pointing almost completely straight back. And I don't know if it's exactly in the middle of its stroke or not, but it's darn close because I turned it all the way one way, then counted the turns, and then halfway back. So that should be right about half, which is, man, that looks great. So it means we're gonna have great deflection left and great deflection right. Next thing we gotta do is mark our gearbox over here, or our plate, where I wanna cut it, so that way this can get sunk. As you can see, there's this gap right here. We're gonna try to get rid of that gap. We want this main body, I'm gonna try to get this main body to be resting right up against this. And we're gonna make bushings that actually make it so that all the force will be up here at the mounting points, and this won't actually be forced up against that. But that way, if there's any kind of torsion at all in it, you know, the body will be resting up against that. So we need to do that. And we also want to try to get, and I can tell already that this needs to go that way, maybe 1/4 of an inch. And it's going to make a big difference at the end. I'm kind of having a hard time getting it to stay exactly where I want it. I'm trying to show you guys here kind of what's going on with this, but I got it pretty close to where it's going to go. But so this is almost exactly where we want our Pitman arm. It'll bolt to the bottom here. I still have to drill that out and then put a bushing in there. So we got a Heim kit. I haven't shown you the Heim kit yet. That might make more sense if I show you that first, huh? Let's go get that. Okay, so I went over to Barnes 4-wheel drive and I got their steering Heim kit. Or their Heim kit steering? No, steering, I don't know. Heim kit steering. We got a kit from Barnes 4-wheel drive for the steering. It's a steering kit for Heims. And it comes with all sorts of fancy things. This kit was like 130 bucks. And it comes with these really nice Heim joints. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna This has a 3/4 inch diameter that I think is spaced out to 5/8. So basically got these misalignment spacers that go on here, so this can move more, but also like not come off with a safety spacer. It's kind of technical. There's other videos that are much better about explaining how exactly these work in a steering setup. So the main takeaway, or maybe this one's a 3/4. I think this one's a 5/8. Yeah, this one's a 5/8. Anyways though, so the reason why I need to drill out that Pitman arm is because the Pitman arm from the factory is tapered, so that's not going to work for us. So we got to drill it out to the next size up. For this Pitman arm, it's going to be 3/4 of an inch, and then our bolt that's going to go through our heim is 5/8 though. So what we're going to do is I have bushings ordered on the way right now. They have a 3/4 diameter, and that'll go into our Pitman arm. We'll cut off to the right length, and that way we'll be able to bolt our 5/8 right onto it. So trying to think what we can do today. Right now we're kind of in a hurry up and wait situation. I'm waiting on the bushings to show up. And also, if you're doing this conversion, so you can find the steering box in a number of vehicles, and I found out the bolts, these bolts that bolt into that steering box come in various lengths, and I got one from an XJ, and I went back to the junkyard today and I got these ones out of a Sierra, a half-ton van is what I got it out of, and then I also got these other ones. So the one out of the half-ton van is the longest one out of all the ones I found. The next size up, this is the one out of a Blazer S10 or a Sonoma. You can see it's slightly shorter, not much. But the one out of an XJ is, well, extremely shorter and actually the perfect length. So I'll be going back to the junkyard again just to get these bolts out of an XJ, because I only have one and I need 3. So that's a whole thing. Okay, so as it goes to the steering box, the column, and all that stuff in between, well, looks like we're waiting on parts. Looks like what I could really do is remake some brake lines and do something with this oil line that's in the way. I'll show you. That's something we really need to do. Our steering rod is going to go right through here, right where this brake line is. And there's a chance that this oil line may or may not be in the way, but I think if we move this out of the way, this brake line right here, that's gonna make it a lot easier later on down the road. I'm wondering if I can actually reuse this brake line and just, instead of bending it up and over this motor mount, if we can somehow bend it to come back down underneath the motor mount and twist over in. That's what we're gonna do today. All right, so first thing we're gonna try to do is remove this brake line. That's gonna be the next thing we do. We need to move this brake line out of the way. So I think this brake line, we have to see where it's at, but right now it's in the way. So we'll go ahead and take it off right here, kind of flip it over out of where we want it. So that way we can drill our hole with a hole saw, and then you'll see kind of how I match up the lines. Hopefully that all pans out. Be able to shove our tube in here, cut off the right length. We'll tack that in, and then see it all comes together. Right here, there's a pretty big old gap right there. We're gonna have to fill that in with something. Maybe do what they call the Texas TIG. Same thing with that one, just for ease. But the main thing I was worried about was the fitment around here. That is just perfect. It's money all the way around. Yes, Mr. President, I will accept your office. Oh yeah, look at that sucker. There you go. Looky there. Look at this side. That side was easy, it was just flush. No big deal. Over here, great. We're gonna fill that in. Do a little, we call it Texas TIG on that sucker. Not too worried about that. Main thing is we got a good weld here, a good weld in the front. That's gonna give us some really good structure. I'm out of time, I'm out of parts. We're gonna call it a day. Right now the main thing we're waiting on are the bushings to come in, so that way we can tack this box up in place. Once we have these bushings, you're gonna call them sleeves, they're basically go right here for me to weld and make a mount. There's gonna be one right here, and I'm gonna triangulate it and make some kind of pyramid thing for it to bolt into. And then I'm gonna have to drill holes through our frame right here for the bottom ones. And those ones will just be welded into the frame. So these bottom ones will be like harder to get right, but it will be easier to weld, I'm hoping. So, yeah. We're doing it. Yeah, we're doing it. And we're doing it well.